So I just exhausted myself at the gym, and I wanted to talk about affirmations and mental reprogramming, because this was something I was always resistant to for some reason. I just didn't like the idea. It seemed contrived, and I wasn't really sure it actually did anything. I kind of thought of repeating affirmations as something that miserable people just did to try to make themselves feel better. And I thought maybe, it had a purpose in lifting you up temporarily, but it just never really sank in for me how important the thoughts that are happening on autopilot are, because they create moods, they create feelings, and they end up creating things without you even meaning for them to in the outer world. And what started to change my mind about it was my business partner's experience with it. I know I've told this somewhere else in this channel somewhere, but sorry if you've already heard this, but my business partner's central theme in life has been money. His role in our business was always more of a supportive thing. I was the one who made most of the decisions and sort of drove the car. And so while he benefited from that financially, there was the missing experience of creating it himself, and that was really important to him. And over the years, I watched him work on side hustles, ideas he would get, things like that, where he wanted to try to create like a different business for himself. And he's the most capable person in the world. This guy can do anything, especially when it comes to video production or writing, anything web-based, which if you're adept at that, with the internet still being in its infancy, there are so many ways to make money. But he would put in all of this effort and nothing ever happened. He would create some whole big thing, and it would never make a dime. It would never get any traffic. It would, there was just always some problem with it, and it didn't ever really make sense. But he's a testament to the amount of work you can put into something, and if you don't believe, that if you feel, I think for many people who have a central theme where they're chasing it and they don't ever get it, which I think is because of sort of the wrong state of mind, you can start to feel cursed, like it's your cross to bear. And I think that he was getting to that point. And so in order to sort of deal with the pain of bearing this cross, he got into a lot of this stuff. Neville Goddard, I'm using Neville Goddard as sort of a catch-all term. He got into the conscious creation realm, more specifically, sort of the path to enlightenment, just peace, attaining peace in the face of not having what you want, basically. And at some point, he ran across somebody who suggested doing an affirmation for 10 minutes a day, and that would really change something. So he just said, what have I got to lose? I've got a 10-minute drive to and from the office every day. I will do this for 2 weeks. And so he repeated the affirmation, I'm a successful businessman, and everything I touch turns to gold. And I remember when he was doing this, this is my ex, and we were still living together at the time. And I remember when he started doing this, and I remember sort of the timeline. He was working on one project already. He always had a side hustle going. He was working on one project and started doing this affirmation. And at some point, he says, and I remember, he just said, this isn't producing anything. I'm just gonna let, I've worked on it a lot, but I'm gonna set it down and walk away. The next thing that he decided to put his attention on has turned into an enormous success. So he did this affirmation for 2 weeks, 10 minutes each way to and from our business that generates, our original income. And after 2 weeks, he says, and I've now experienced, he felt an internal shift, as he puts it. And he says he started behaving in accordance with that internal shift. And it instantly changed the success level. I mean, that's an understatement. I can't really talk about what his business is, but suffice it to say that it's not something most people are very successful with. It's the kind of thing where you either make a ton of money or no money. And he has found a way to generate nearly 6 figures in passive income from this thing, which is just mind-blowing. And so anyway, even after hearing that and knowing that, I still sort of just thought, oh, well, that's his way. It's not my way. Screw the affirmations. That's dumb. Like, I have a different way of creating things. Well, once I started figuring out how my beliefs were creating thoughts, that were creating my moods, that were creating my whole reality, and creating my experience outside of myself and everything, I figured out that you can get rid of a lot of these automatic thoughts just by changing your underlying beliefs. And how you do that is up to you. The way that I've done a lot of it is examining the underlying belief and figuring out where it came from. And if I can rationally go through and figure out why I shouldn't have come to the conclusion that I came to, I shouldn't have developed the belief that I developed, it's been very easy for me to just kind of set it down, leave it behind. There are certain really foundational core things that I felt about myself from childhood that when I went and just examined them through an adult's eyes with my experience, especially, this has been profound for me. A lot of this came from my parents and things that happened when I was between the ages of like 8 and 14, when my parents were very close to the age that I am now. And as I've gotten closer to the age that my parents were, when a lot of these pivotal formative events happened in my life, it's changed my perspective on my role in it as a child. And this has changed what I think about it, which has changed my beliefs and my thoughts and has helped a lot. That's been happening sort of naturally as I approached 40. But so just examining some beliefs for me has been a really fast shortcut to just a bunch of thoughts not occurring anymore, because once I realize the source isn't true, then none of the offshoot thoughts are true, and it just kind of fell away. So that was really easy. But there's been other stuff that I don't necessarily have a strong belief about one way or the other, or that isn't really about me exactly. It's just about how I've developed an idea about how the world works. And those I've been trying to purposely reprogram. And the way I've been doing that is while driving, like my my business partner, did. And I've also been doing that while I'm walking the track at the gym. And both of these, for me anyway, you can sense how effective it is. It's like you're in a semi-meditative state already. And like there's not a lot of interference if you try to repeat something over and over again, for me. And so I've had a couple profound things happen that I'm at 9 minutes already, I'm sorry, that I wanted to just quickly say. One, when I've noticed that if I choose something to affirm, that I've been doing this for 10-minute blocks. So I'll walk around the track for 30 minutes and I'll pick 3 different things to focus on, and I'll do them in a row. And just, I don't like to do one thing for 30 minutes, to do it for 10 minutes, just like my ex did. And then, the next day or later in the day, maybe I'll go back to those things and do it again for 10 minutes while I'm driving or something instead. And I've noticed the weirdest thing, which is that it seems that whatever affirmation I pick turns out to already be true somehow. If I pick something that I want to believe about myself, after doing it, maybe do a 10-minute block, after doing that maybe the third or fourth time, nearly every time it's dawned on me that it's already true. I'm affirming something that is already true. It's not creating something new. It doesn't matter what I pick. After a grand total of about 40 minutes, it dawns on me that it's true every time. I can't explain this. It's really bizarre. And not at the exact same moment. That usually happens first. Shortly thereafter, I feel a sensation, like a physical almost sensation of there being a shift. Almost like a shift into a new reality, which is so weird that I'm not sure I can even describe it any further than that. But it just feels like I shift into the reality where that is now the outside reality as well as this mental recognition. And so that's really weird. A few that I've been, I've worked on other people's behavior at first just to see that it got boring how easy that is. Affirming somebody else feels a certain way about you and treats you a certain way, weirdly turns out to be true, and then they start behaving that way. I can't explain this. I've been affirming, lately I've been trying to affirm my ability as a creator. I've been saying the whole world is here to support me. I can have anything I want. Whatever I choose manifests nearly instantly. That was the weirdest thing to figure out is true. I suddenly dawned on me that is the case. Everything I choose that I want does manifest almost instantly. Like if I say, okay, I'm ready for this, it shows up. But I did a lot of affirmations about myself being good enough. And this morning when I was getting dressed, I've talked on this channel a little bit about what a negative self-opinion I've had about my looks, my, especially like physically, my body. And I was getting dressed this morning, and, I'm the type of person that will always compliment other people, like, especially if we have sort of a casual relationship. I'm really, really effusive about complimenting people that I have like a acquaintance type of relationship with. Like, like I'll tell guys they're good looking all the time, and I'll tell women that they're good. I'll just always compliment people on their looks or whatever, something about them that's, obvious when you like first know somebody. And I was looking in the mirror this morning when I got dressed, and I sort of turned around to like check out my butt and my back. And as I was like walking away from the mirror, I said, "You're such a hottie," to myself, involuntarily. This might be the most profound moment that I've had in February.